Quiet, quiet, quiet.
Donald Trump has a very testy relationship with the media.
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
President Trump made a totally unsubstantiated claim about Hunter Biden and his father. It's not unsubstantiated, you crooked son of a guns. It's 100% true.
I know words. I have the best words. But there's no better word than stupid.
In an era where most people are very sensitive, Donald Trump is not worried about being canceled or offending the woke community.
But not all. With the military, we're ending woke immediately. You know, I ended woke. Totally.
While other politicians try to avoid controversies, for Donald, he's going to say what he wants to say. Make the headlines, and if he feels like a reporter's being disrespectful, then he's going to let him have it.
It's very simple. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Back in 2018, Trump got into a heated exchange with CNN's White House correspondent, Jim Acosta. From the sarcasm in Trump's voice, he already predicted this wouldn't go well. Immediately, he heard the reporter's first sentence.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to challenge you on one of the statements that you made in the tail end of the campaign in the midterms.
Here we go.
If you don't mind, Mr. President.
Trump's sarcasm in this conversation even had some of the other journalists laughing already. This became a heated debate because Trump described a migrant caravan from Mexico as an invasion.
That this caravan was an invasion. As you know, Mr. President,
I consider it to be an invasion.
As you know, Mr. President, the caravan was not an invasion. It's a group of migrants moving up from Central America towards the border with the U.S.
Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate it.
Why did you characterize it as such?
Because I consider it an invasion. You and I have a difference of opinion.
But do you think that you demonized immigrants in
Not
this
at all.
election
No, not
to
at
try
all.
to keep?
I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally. You know, they have to come in, Jim, through a process. I want it to be a process, and I want people to come in, and we need the people.
Your campaign.
Wait. You know why we need the people, don't you? Because we have hundreds of companies moving in. We need the people.
Trump takes a jab at CNN and tells the journalist, "You can't tell me how to run the country."
Your campaign had an ad showing migrants climbing over walls and so on.
Well, that's true. But they weren't actors.
They're not going to be doing that.
They weren't actors. Well, no, it's true. Do you think they were actors? They weren't actors. They didn't come from Hollywood. Right. These were people. This was an actual. You know, it happened a few days ago, and
they're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's
I
not an invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN,
all right.
And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
Trump tries to interact with other journalists, but Jim Acosta refuses to pass the mic.
If I may ask one other question, Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr. President,
that's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other question, if I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax.
What Jim here doesn't realize is that Trump isn't just another politician who's just going to let this slide. He goes all in and stated that CNN should be ashamed of having Jim working for them, and then described him as a rude and terrible person.
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible.
The next reporter then tries to stand up for his buddy, but man, Donald really was just a savage on this day.
Go ahead, Peter, go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts his butt.
Well, I'm not
like
a big
the rest
fan
of
of yours either, so
I understand.
To be honest.
So let me ask you a question if I can. You repeatedly said...
You aren't the best.
Mr. President, you repeatedly, over the course of the...
Okay, just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
But this isn't Trump's only interesting conversation with CNN's Jim Acosta. In another press conference, Trump stated that he had to do an in-depth check to ensure his labor secretary, Alex Acosta, was in no way related to the reporter.
Because of the attack of fake news and attacking our network, I just want to ask you, sir.
I'm changing it from fake news, though.
Doesn't that undermine...
Very fake news.
I know, but aren't you...
Go ahead.
Real news, Mr. President, real news.
And you're not related to our new...
I am not related, sir, no. I do like the sound of
I
Secretary
looked-
Acosta, I must say.
You know, I
Mr.
looked at
President.
that name. I said, wait a minute. Is there any relation there? Alex Acosta.
I'm sure you checked that out,
Okay,
sir.
no, I checked it. They said, no, sir. I said, do me a favor. Go back and check the family tree. See, I know when I should get good and when I should get bad. And sometimes I'll say, wow, that's going to be a great story. And I'll get killed. I know what's good and bad. I'd be a pretty good reporter, not as good as you. But I know what's good. I know what's bad. And when they change it and make it really bad, something that should be positive, sometimes something that should be very positive, they'll make okay. They'll even make it negative. So I understand it. So because I'm there, I know what was said, I know who's saying it, I'm there. So it's very important to me. Look, I want to see an honest press. When I started off today by saying that it's so important to the public to get an honest press.
There's really no love lost between CNN and Donald Trump. During a Rose Garden press conference, this time Trump was dealing with CNN's Celicia Vega.
In Washington, D.C. Okay, question? Yeah, go ahead. Sure. She's shocked that I picked her.
No.
She's like in a state of shock.
And just when Celicia was about to state that she wasn't even thinking of that, Trump had a really interesting answer.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
When she finally gets to ask her question, well, he had another peculiar answer.
In a tweet this weekend, Mr. President, you said that it's incorrect to say you're limiting the scope of the FBI investigation.
What does that have to do with trade? I don't mind answering the question, but, you know, I'd like to do the trade
It has to do with
questions
the other
first.
headline in the news, which is the
I know,
Kavanaugh
but
nomination.
how about talking about trade, and then we'll get to that.
But we aren't done with our Trump vs. CNN miniseries just yet. And just in case you're keeping count, it's 2-0 in favor of Donald. The next reporter was Abby Phillips, and she asked if Trump wanted the Attorney General to rein in Robert Mueller. And, well, let's just say this didn't go the way she expected.
The USMCA. Do you expect not going to sort of be involved in the Russia probe? Do you want him?
It's up to him.
Do you want him to rein in Robert Mueller?
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
For CNN, Trump is like Voldemort, only this time Voldemort actually has blonde hair. In this town hall meeting, we have CNN's Caitlin Collins, who continues to interrupt Donald Trump, whilst also insisting that he answers her question. Trump calls her a nasty person, and the audience's reaction tells you just how rude she's been.
You held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return
Are
them.
you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
You
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Can you answer why
Very
you
simple.
held on to the documents?
I was negotiating and we were
However, it's
talking
not just rude woke reporters that have been roasted by Trump. Sometimes that list includes female football players. Trump stated that the reason some of the women of the national team aren't performing at their best is because they've gone woke.
I got in a little trouble. I said that our women's soccer team was supposed to easily win, but they went woke, except for a few of them. I love those women that stood up and they saluted our flag. There were some of them. But the one with the purple hair, she didn't play too well.
At this same rally, Trump went all in on their idea of wokeness and the entire woke culture. According to Donald Trump, if you're one of the woke folks, this just means you're a loser.
You know what woke means? It means you're a loser. Everything woke. Everything woke.
And Mr. Trump wasn't done just yet. He had more to say about the idea of being woke. In simple terms, everything woke turns to shit.
It's true. Everything woke turns to shit, okay? It's true. It's true. Look at what's happening.
In a society where the new rave is to be woke, Donald Trump continues to go against the grain rather than trying to be politically correct.
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either. This country is in big trouble. We don't win anymore. We lose to China. We lose to Mexico, both in trade and at the border. We lose to everybody. And frankly, what I say, and oftentimes it's fun, it's kidding, we have a good time. What I say is what I say. And honestly, Megyn, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I've been very nice to you, although I could probably maybe not be based on the way you have treated me, but I wouldn't do that. But you know what?
And this is one of the major differences between Trump and some of his political opponents.
And, you know, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. and you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay
This
more.
is one of the major issues that Donald Trump and Kamala Harris disagree on. During this summit, Trump criticized Kamala Harris for supporting a bill that forced doctors to give what he called chemical castration drugs to minors.
Somebody doesn't like Catholics in that administration, and I don't even know who it is. I don't think it's Biden, because I don't think he has any idea what the hell he's doing. I don't think he has any ideas on any subject. Kamala Harris supports California's outrageous new law trampling on parental rights and allowing minors to change their gender without parental notification or consent. Can you imagine? She's in favor of that, by the way. Or she was. She's probably losing. You know, they're losing as much as they can. But remember, a politician always goes back to where they started. Harris wants to forcibly compel doctors and nurses against their will to give chemical castration drugs to young children. You know that, right? She totally supports that.
Roasting his political opponents is one of Trump's favorite pastimes. During this presidential debate against Hillary Clinton, he stated that it's a great thing that Trump isn't in charge of the nation, but Donald's comeback had the entire arena applauding.
Because, you know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
And sometimes his favorite opponent is Joe Biden.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
In another debate, Trump stated that Biden graduated almost the lowest in his class and that he should never use the word smart when talking with him.
He knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record as saying it. He panicked, or he just looked at the stock market. One of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Jim.
And when Trump isn't roasting the Democrats, he's taking on his fellow Republicans. During this Republican debate, Trump praised Jeb Bush for being a really, really tough guy.
This is a tough business to run for president.
I know. You're a tough guy, Jeb.
And we need to have a leader that is principled. You're never going to be president of the United States by insulting your way to the presidency.
Let's see. I'm at 42 and you're at 3, so far I'm doing better.
Doesn't matter.
But when Trump isn't roasting Democrats or his fellow Republicans, one of the people who has truly suffered from his wrath is Rosie O'Donnell. Donald Trump's beef with Rosie started after she called him a snake oil salesman and a hypocrite. However, Mr. Trump had the last laugh. He called her a loser, a slob, ugly, and a failure. He even stated that he will only sue Rosie so he would bankrupt her.
Well, Rosie O'Donnell's disgusting. I mean, both inside and out. You take a look at her, she's a slob. She talks like a truck driver. Rosie attacked me personally because I was very happy when her talk show failed. The other thing that failed, and this was a real monster, and everybody was suing her, was her magazine. Her magazine called Rosie was a total disaster. So I loved it. I gloat over it. I think it's wonderful because I like to see bad people fail. Rosie failed. I'm happy about it. She's basically a disaster. Well, she called me a snake oil salesman. And, you know, coming from Rosie, that's pretty low, because when you look at her and when you see the mind is weak. I don't see it. I don't get it. I never understood. How does she even get on television? I believe Barbara made a terrible mistake putting her on, and I think Barbara's probably paying a big price. If I were running The View, I'd fire Rosie. I mean, I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers. I'd say, Rosie, you're fired. We're all a little chubby, but Rosie's just worse than most of us. But it's not the chubbiness. Rosie is a very unattractive person, both inside and out. Rosie's a person that's very lucky to have her girlfriend. And she better be careful, or I'll send one of my friends over to pick up her girlfriend. Why would she stay with Rosie if she had another choice? She's trying to use ABC and The View to get even with me. But with me, we fight back. I'll probably sue Rosie because she doesn't tell the facts. As an example, I'm worth many billions of dollars. Now, she said I was bankrupt. I never went bankrupt. So probably I'll sue her because it would be fun. I'd like to take some money out of her fat ass pockets. I actually think they ought to look at her whole life and see where she's coming from, because I think she's got some very deep-seated problems. Perhaps it should be Rosie that goes to rehab. Rosie is a loser.
But if you thought that was crazy, Trump also had some words for Rosie during the Republican presidential debate.
One of the things people love about you is you speak your mind and you don't use a politician's filter. However, that is not without its downsides, in particular when it comes to women. You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't. Your Twitter account...
Thank you.
Donald Trump is always going to say what's on his mind. It's one of his strengths, and it's one of the reasons why he stands out among other politicians. And when it comes to woke culture, you can be sure Trump is relentless in putting an end to this.
With the military, we're ending woke immediately. You know, I ended woke, totally. And then they, in their first week, they reestablished it. It's crazy. They pay instructors hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. It literally, I mean, literally, they want our military to be woke. And it's just not going to happen. You read in Hawaii where they had the horrible fire where they have people going there. And before they bring them on board, they have to study woke for a week. Can you believe this? In other words, everyone's wanting to get back to their home, finding the bodies. It was such a tragedy. You don't read about it too much anymore, but hell is going on over there. And they want to give them classes in essentially wokeness. Can you believe? So, you know, you've seen it. Well, we'll end that very quickly. We will, with the school.